and welcome back to another episode of the Real Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jacob O'Connor. Real Conversations is a podcast for those dedicated to doing hard things and living a meaningful life. Today, I'm excited for this one. It's been almost a year at this point.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years at this point. I guess we talk semi-regularly, so it's kind of, we've been in touch.
Yeah.
But I'm joined back in today with Landon Huslig of Wichita Life. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Excited to be back on, and I'm a regular listener and a frequenter of ABEC.
Thank you.
Another Broken Egg Cafe. So yeah, I'm excited to be on.
I appreciate that, man. Your support has been awesome these last 12 months with opening the restaurant and doing everything. And you do text me about the podcast, like all of that. It means a lot.
Absolutely.
I know you're a busy guy and you got a lot going on.
Yeah. I think it's important to just support people doing stuff. I know that's a big part of what this podcast is, but like there's a lot of people that just sit on the sidelines. So it's important to kind of get out there and support the people that are.
Yeah. And that's why I love talking to you, is because you've started something, how many, 8 years ago?
8 years ago in April. Yeah. April 2017.
Yeah. So you started something 8 years ago, just an Instagram page, and it's grown into something that I'm going to venture to say you're close to doing it full time at this point.
Yeah. I probably could if I really, really wanted to, but we have 3 kids under 5 years old. So the risk tolerance is definitely not what it used to be, but we're very close. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm catching you too at a time where it feels like the momentum is on a big upswing for you. Here in Wichita, we had some local events happen that you got asked to be heavily involved in and document and partake in. I'm thinking as I'm recording this, we've had a lot of new listeners recently with some of the episodes that have come out being a little bit bigger ones. I would love for you to kind of describe like what Wichita Life is and kind of a little bit of the genesis of it.
Yeah, for sure. And first off, I think it's cool. I appreciate you having me on again.
Yeah.
But it's cool to be listed among some of the names that you've had. Like, I don't know if I quite belong up in there, but I appreciate it. But yeah, so Wichita Life just started as an Instagram page, has since grown to other social media and whatnot, but we just highlight what's happening in Wichita. So cool events, high-level local news, no politics or crime, really just like the good takes on why Wichita is an awesome place to live. And so it's grown from just an Instagram page. We have a podcast, which was dormant for quite a while. I don't know, it's probably like 10 or 11 months where I didn't release an episode, but we're back on that. And then the email newsletter goes out to over 30,000 people now. Again, 4 times a week covering local news events. We do deep dives on different topics, and yeah, it's been fun.
You're basically building the framework for your own media empire, and you're doing it independently without the management and oversight of large corporations.
Exactly. Yeah, I like to say we're a digital media company, and I say we're the largest independent local media company. I don't know if it's actually true or not, but it sounds good when you say it.
Yeah.
So, it's fun to kind of be in different avenues because everything has a different audience. Like people who listen to podcasts might not be on social media or might not read emails. And I know for a fact, like between like Instagram and our email, the demographic is completely different. And so it's fun to kind of slice it a few different ways.
Yeah. It's cool because like people around town and organizations around town are viewing you as like a legitimate news source. Like I've seen you at various events wearing the actual press credentials and you getting like kind of the VIP treatment. Like you've really carved out your own niche and legitimized it yourself. Like it's so cool to see you go from something so small to something where, I mean, your newsletter's doubled since the last time we did a podcast. Imagine where you're going to be in 5 years.
I know. It's really cool. And I think that comes with the good and the bad. It's like, one, we get taken more seriously, but then also we get taken more seriously. So what I like to say is if you're going to call me a journalist, which I don't necessarily call myself, it's like a journalist with a little J.
Yeah.
Like I didn't go to school to be a journalist, but I do cover up news and whatnot. So typically we don't break news, but like I get press releases that the Eagle will get. And so I can write pieces on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the email, a lot more of it is more of like a curation than it is, or aggregator.
Yeah.
And then like deep dives is like, I'll go back and read the newspaper from the last 100 years to talk about like one of the buildings in town or something like that.
Well, I think on the breaking news press front, like we're the first one to announce the Fairmount Park was flooding. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I had an inside source, and somebody commented on my hairy legs, but
did they actually?
I think it was on Facebook or one of them. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah.
It's hilarious. I was out running. Wichita had some flooding recently, and one of the parks I run in was like 3 feet underwater. Like that thing flooded quick. And so I shot the video over to Landon, and he posted it like 5 minutes later. And that's funny that someone commented I have hairy legs.
It is funny. It's honestly crazy too, because just how much social media changes, like the algorithm and stuff you post, like one day it'll hit, one day it won't. But something that's very consistent is like weather stuff.
Yeah.
Like whether it's flooding or snowstorms or whatever else, like it goes bonkers. And so it's always fun to post that kind of stuff.
So I guess looking back, it's been 2 years since like we've documented a conversation together. Part of this is, literally documenting the journey. Like what has been significant for you in the last 2 years? Like what's been growth? What's life looks like? Kind of just some of that.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, my son had just been born, so he's about to turn 2. But for Wichita Life, I think that summer is when we went from 2 times a week to 3 times a week on the newsletter. So we were doing like Monday and Friday, just local news and events, and I needed more ad slots.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, I don't want to just keep doing that. There's only so much news and stuff. So those Wednesdays I started doing deep dives, and then fast forward, I don't know, probably another year, and now I do like event recaps for the weekend. So now we go 4 times a week. There's a few different formats. That's probably the biggest thing there. Monetization, I think that's a big question that people
Right.
ask. And last year was the first time we broke 6 figures for revenue. So
dude, let's go.
So that was pretty exciting.
Dude, congratulations.
Thank
Let's
you.
go.
Yeah, so that was really exciting. And let's see. So you mentioned some big events in town.
Yeah.
So another big kind of blogger in town, Wichita by EB.
Yeah.
We're good friends. And then we have a good Jacob Clark who runs Managed to Create, videographer guy. We came together, and this is something I think people could replicate in other cities. But between Wichita by EB and myself, we've got a large audience on social media. He's got bigger on Facebook, I'm bigger on Instagram, et cetera. We kind of complement each other pretty well. But the idea was, okay, Riverfest in Wichita Riverfest is a 9-day event with concerts pretty much every night. There's fireworks. There's a lot of stuff going on in town. But it's not, I don't know, people like, they say it's not what it used to be and stuff like that. Anyways, so we came together and we formed what we call the Kansas Media Collective. And the idea was, okay, we both have big audiences, but like, to put it bluntly, I'm a white guy from the suburbs of Wichita. I don't reach some of the different demographics, and neither does Eddie with Wichita by EB. And so how can we leverage other people that have audiences in town, whether it's an Asian audience, a Hispanic audience, whatever other audience, and they can create content, or Spanish-speaking audience, to just reach more people. And so it's been fun to kind of like go different directions with stuff like social media. We're already doing this, but how can we kind of pivot and cover something in a different way?
Yeah, it's like a joint effort to amplify something for the city.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's probably one of the bigger things more recently.
So with that 9-day event, you guys were pumping out content. Like it looked like a blast. I didn't actually make it out to any of the days. I had tickets to Big X, didn't even make it to the concert. But when you did that, like, how much time are you spending on Wichita Life?
A lot. That week I was down there. I mean, most of the week I was down at near Riverfest downtown. But luckily, so I worked at Coke for almost 10 years. It would have been 10 years this month, actually, as an engineer for the pipelines. And then a few months ago, I switched over to Stand Together, which is kind of like the philanthropy arm, nonprofit arm of Coke. And so that lets me have a little bit more flexibility. But that week I was basically like, I'll be around if you need me, but like I'm going to be doing this most of the time. So.
And they probably appreciated that because of like the Stand Together mission. And
absolutely. And it's been a good compliment between, like, I kind of know like the philosophy and culture behind Coke, which Stand Together obviously shares, and then like knowing the Wichita community pretty well. So it was a good fit to switch over there. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Jacob here. Real quick before we get back to the episode, I just want to take a quick second to say, if you guys are enjoying this episode, please make sure to share the link with a friend. You may have noticed I don't run any ads in the podcast. In fact, I don't make any money off the podcast. It's quite the contrary. Over the past 5 years, I've invested a lot of time, money, and effort into the growth of the show, trying to continually upgrade the equipment, bring on better guests, and just improve the overall quality of the podcast. So if you guys are enjoying this episode, or if you enjoyed previous episodes, please share the link with a friend. Sending it to 1 or 2 people makes a huge difference for me on the back end. As always, I appreciate your guys' support. Let's get back into the episode. So I guess as you look out like over the next few years, like, do you set goals around this type of thing? Like, I guess I'm curious, someone who works a full-time job and you had the ambition to do something entrepreneurial, like, how do you orient yourself? Like, do you set goals regularly? Do you have principles that you operate by? Like, I'm curious to like kind of dive into your personal mentality.
Sure. I have like loose goals, but I know things can change. And I also know I only have so much time between I have my day job, I go home, and like luckily now with a little bit more flexibility, I can meet during the day or do podcasts and stuff like that. But then it's like, okay, I go home and I'm with the kids, and then so it's like go to bed and it's like, okay, I still need to spend some time with my wife before I work on this stuff. But it's like, this is my hobby. Somebody asked me the other day, like, what's your hobby? And I'm like, building Wichita Life. This is my hobby. Like, I don't golf. I don't do a lot of this other stuff. But I enjoy it. I get to meet a lot of fun people. And like, I also see what that vision can look like in the future. And so again, right now we're probably, I calculated up a while ago, but probably like 120,000 like total social media followers, which like, again, is kind of a vanity metric, but like gives you a rough number to gauge stuff by. And then the email has about 31,000 subscribers, and about half people read those. So 15 or 16,000 people read every email. So like, I don't have like a hard goal. Like I have to be at this number by like the end of the year, but I'm like, okay, 100,000 is not that far off.
Right.
So I'm like, in 5 years, is that where I'm at maybe? And I kind of backtrack. I'm like, okay, if I gain 50 subscribers a day for whatever, and a lot of that's paid. So I can kind of toggle that up and down through paid acquisition via Facebook and stuff. But I'd say like monetarily for a while, it was like, okay, can I double the revenue this year? And a lot of that's just based off growth and obviously that's not sustainable. And I probably won't hit that this year.
That was your annual goal though, was to double
for the last couple of years.
Wow,
yeah. And
sweet.
it's like, there's always new revenue streams. So like 5 years ago, I didn't even have a newsletter. So it was like, that was like a way easier. So it was easy to double some of those times. And it's like, okay, I'm sending 1 time a week to 5,000 people. Now I'm sending 4 times a week to 31,000 people. I can charge more, but I'm also sending 4 times as many emails. So it's like, there's a lot more ad slots. And then also like, okay, what else can I do? Could I host a couple events? Can I help advertise or market for like big events that already exist, like Riverfest? So I don't know. I should probably be better about goals, but I would say there's like always kind of like a rough North Star. And I kind of just work towards that. And I'm like, okay, my to-do list is like ever going. Like it's always growing. I have like 15 sheets of paper in my notebook that are just like, I need to consolidate them. But it's like, okay, what do I have to get done today? I'm like, okay, I'm never going to miss sending a newsletter. It goes out at 6 a.m. the next morning, no matter what. So it's like, that's always going to get finished. And so other stuff gets bumped. And so it's like, sometimes that's my 50 unread emails. Maybe that gets bumped to the next day. It's like, what actually has to get done today? And yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at on that. But I need to be better about setting goals. So if you have tips or anything, let me know. But,
I don't know if I'm the right guy for tips, but I am curious to like kind of dig further into it.
Yeah.
One thing that you talked about was like, you've kind of got the North Star, the guiding vision of where you want to head with things. Is that something that you've actually taken time to write out and to kind of like really get precise about what that North Star is? Because I think a lot of times people listening, if they're younger and they want to get started and try and build something, it's like, well, if you don't know what it could become, why put the effort in to do it right now? Like it could be something where it's like, I don't see the point of this. Sure. But when you have a vision, something that's compelling, then that kind of draws you to actually want to take action, regardless of how small it may be and regardless of how far you have to go. So I'm curious about the amount of time or the amount of intentionality you spent on actually casting a vision for Wichita Life.
Sure. I think the vision, like very simply, is like, I want to keep doing what I'm doing and kind of the way I've been doing it. So again, it started as an Instagram page. So it's like, what else can I grow this to? Like, okay, so I added a podcast. Like, okay, I listen to a lot of podcasts. It's kind of like a product that fills my own need. For the newsletter, there's about 400,000 people in Wichita proper, maybe like 640, 650 in all of Wichita, which is what we cover. So I'm like, okay, we're only at 30,000 of 650,000.
Right.
Like, let's get this to 100,000. I think a lot of people will ask, like, I mentioned Wichita by EB, like, people would be like, so who's your competitor? Somebody asked me this the other day. I'm like, a lot of people would think it's him, but like, we're good buddies. Like, we text. But it's like, to me, it's almost like I don't know, traditional media is almost more of the competitor, like whether it's the Wichita Eagle. But again, I'm an aggregator. So I use all those sources. I don't view them that way. But if I'm going to have to pick somebody, I'm like, they're kind of like the Goliath and I'm the David. So it's like, okay, how can I surpass them? And I'm like 95% sure I already have the biggest email list in Wichita. That's like Wichita focused. But like, how can I continue to grow that? And so in my head, it's like 50,000 is the next benchmark. And then which will probably be between 40 and 45,000 by the end of the year. And then kind of looking forward, okay, where am I at in 5 years is kind of the way I look at it. It's like, okay, I want to be at, let's say 100,000, hopefully before then, 100,000 email subscribers. And then with that, what can I do? And so I think that's where it's like, I've always had like an entrepreneurial desire, I guess. I didn't know what that was. Like all through college, I was always looking for the right idea when all I had to do really was like just do something. Like I could have just started Wichita Life in college instead of a few years later, and it'd be way bigger than it is now. But in 5 years, the way I look at it is like, okay, I'll have a really, really big audience that I can then, if I start, I mean, any business or buy a business, a plumbing business or like anything, an events business, like I can go promote that to my own audience and I have like a full blown business here in Wichita without a marketing.
Yes. Yep.
And so that's kind of where I see it going, whether I'm still writing the newsletter then, maybe. I think my wife says like, I'm always going to have to write it because people read it because of my voice, which I do think there's something to that. But I mean, I don't see myself as the best news source in Wichita, but I think people like reading it because it's like I'm telling the news to a friend. Like if I was going to text you the news, it's probably going to sound pretty similar to what's in the newsletter. But yeah, setting the goal for that, I just look at, okay, what could that look like 5 years down the road?
And what you're doing, in my opinion, if I were to try and break that down, like kind of my principles is you're optimizing for optionality. Like what growth means to you is down the road, you want to have the best opportunity to do whatever it is you may want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you have more money, that could be more impact, that can be more opportunity. Like growth is like, as I think about like what we're doing with the restaurant and the podcast and everything else, like the reason that I want to grow is because that means more impact, that means more opportunity, that means more things that I can do as my tastes and interests change. Because I can't tell you exactly where I'm going to be in 5 years, but I can tell you I'm probably still going to be ambitious. And so I want to optimize for as much optionality as I can have at that point.
100%. And I think another thing people talk about is like, there's like a couple kinds of business. There's like one, it's like, I want to be, I don't know, I want to take over an industry or something. And it's like, maybe at some point I will, but it's like right now, it's like, if I'm going down that path, something else is probably going to suffer, right? You're going to have to sacrifice. I think you're well aware of like, with everything comes sacrifices.
Yeah.
Like the way seeing your Instagram and stuff, like you're sacrificing whatever, going out and partying for a healthy lifestyle and building the business. If I'm trying to take over whatever industry, I might be suffering as a husband or a dad, and I'm not willing to make that sacrifice.
Right.
But Wichita Life allows me to live a great lifestyle business. And that's kind of the route I'm going. And I think that will only increase that optionality as it grows, which I think is a pretty cool thing.
Which horse do you hitch your cart to? Because you can have a business that's making all the money, but if it's taking all of your time and it's killing your relationships, then that's not optimized for your lifestyle, like you're saying.
Not worth it.
Now, you've definitely had moments, though, where it's like you have had to make major sacrifices to keep the momentum of what you're doing, like continuing to roll. I'd be curious for some of the insight to like what those moments have looked like where you have had to make those sacrifices.
Sure. And this will kind of answer a previous question that I didn't quite answer, but like how much time do I spend on it? I do spend a lot of evenings on it. So it's like, that's when the kids go to bed at 7:30 or 8. I mean, I'm writing a newsletter for 2.5 hours, 3 or 4 times a week. And then it's like to turn that off like on Friday night. So we send Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday right now. But it's like on Friday night and Saturday night, I'll probably work on something like during the day Saturday, just because I kind of have to.
Yeah.
But Friday night, I'm not going to open the laptop because I know I need to spend time with my wife and like intentional time. Like I'm not going to, it's probably going to take up some like subconscious brain power.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of hours. Again, it takes a couple hours per email. And I think part of that's me figuring out how to delegate or use better tools. Like, are there AI tools that can scrape stuff better for events or whatever that looks like? Or we just hired a girl at Wichita State to do some of our social media.
Oh, nice.
So it's like stuff like that. It's like, what do I actually have to do versus like, how can I build out a team? And that's something that, I don't know. I haven't really hired very many people. We've had one girl that helped with some event stuff before. That didn't work out. And then now my mom helps me. So that keeps it close.
Let's go.
That one's easy. But it's nice to like build the team out a little bit more besides just the family. So yeah,
that reminds me of when I had our mutual friend Spencer from SB Mowing on, because it's him and his wife that run their media empire. And it's this interesting like balance of when do I offload something off myself and hire someone, because that allows me to have more time and potentially allow me to broaden my bandwidth and accomplish more. But you do lose some of that personal touch and that control. And so I'm curious like how you've kind of wrestled with that dichotomy.
Yeah. Something I want to do is, we did this for my new job, but it was like write on a sticky note and like you kind of like organize thoughts that way. Like, okay, of everything you do in a day or a week, what is that? Put it like each individual thing, put on a sticky note. And so what I've like not done to that level, but like what I would like to do is like, okay, again, what do I have to do? It's like, do I have to make this social media post, or could somebody else make this? Like, can I give the input or the idea or the revisions? And so going to the newsletter, it's like, do I have to write every piece of this? And it's like, a lot of it does need to be my voice, but it's like, could somebody else or AI, and again, I'm not doing this right now, but like, is there somebody that could, I don't know, or I have a good ChatGPT prompt that like take this article, put it down into a paragraph, and then I can just read that and kind of put an inside joke on it, put a local joke on it, or my voice on it. So it's like just figuring out like, okay, what are the options nowadays? Like, could my mom write that? You know what I mean? Like whatever that looks like, how can I distill like the voice versus like just like the daily tasks kind of thing. So.
That is like a optimization is kind of what you're looking for. It's like, how do I put in less effort, but still get close enough product to what it was originally? Because I mean, you take on so much, there's only so many hours in a day.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Do you feel like a wave of relief whenever you finally, like an email goes out 6 a.m. the next morning and it's 8 a.m. and you're like, whew, like you finally just catch your breath a little bit?
I do. Honestly, the biggest like time I feel that, because on the weekend, it's like, it's the weekend. So it's kind of how it should feel anyways. But during the week, it's like once, like Sunday night, I write Monday's email, which ideally it's like if I could write some of that on Friday, but then there's news that happens over the weekend. So whatever, you got to do that for Monday. once the Monday email goes out, it's like, okay, I know I don't have anything until Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
So it's like, and ideally, again, I have some different formats. So like I have these deep dives that go out on Wednesdays. That's not news based. Like ideally, I could have a backlog of 6 of these that I could just have those, and then I wouldn't have to write anything on Tuesday nights. But again, it's like trying to work ahead is the hard part. And so, I mean, to work-life balance point, we went on vacation last week of April to Florida. And so I was able to like work ahead a little bit. So like Monday email, I was able to finish on Saturday. We left on Sunday. The deep dive for Wednesday was already written. Most of the events that would go in the Thursday email are already posted a week ahead. So I was able to work it on the events one. So again, that's another something I could work ahead on. And then I just didn't send an email on Friday. So like I didn't have to write for that week, but I still had 3 emails that went out that week. So it's like, how else can I either work ahead or optimize? Tim Ferriss has a good framework called DEAL, DEAL. I think it's delegate, eliminate, automate, liberate. Is kind of what his thing is from the 4-hour work week. But it's like, okay, what can you delegate? If you can't delegate it, can you eliminate it? Can you automate it? And then you're free after you do all these other things, basically.
I love some of his thoughts. Like he is pretty concise about putting up those systems in place.
Yeah, he's very good. He's very good.
I know for myself on like when it comes to when do you catch your breath, Monday mornings, like 8 a.m. because Sunday is our busiest day at the restaurant. And usually I'm editing that week's podcast like Sunday night because I can't get ahead on these, man. Like I am struggling. Every week it's like, last week, Friday afternoon, I got introduced to a guy, and an hour later we were recording.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like,
that's amazing.
I mean, he was an Army Ranger. So like he's sweet, and like it was a great conversation, but it's like, that's literally how these are happening. It's just like, I met someone that week and we're sitting down and talking. And it's like, I am just barely getting these out, but I refuse to drop that weekly cadence. And so, Monday at like 8 a.m. because the restaurant's done for Sunday and the podcast is out at 5 a.m. on Monday. So it's like, I don't have to worry about this till like Tuesday.
How much post-interview or post-recording work is there? Broadcast?
It depends on how much content I make out of it. The actual editing of each episode is about an hour long, and thankfully the podcast is called Real Conversations, so there's very minimal editing in between. There's sometimes technical difficulties or like something that'll kind of go off a little bit, like kind of had earlier, so I'm gonna have to cut that piece out. So it'll take me maybe an hour to edit the episode, and then it's like 3 hours to export because it's a large video file, and then it's like 2 hours to upload, and then show notes and description. And then each reel that I make is probably about 30 minutes or so.
So you count that as like, okay, so you recorded on Friday, your Sunday editing, is that including you do all the reels and stuff that day too?
No, I'll do those throughout the week.
Okay, cool.
The issue with like getting it out, like working on it on a Sunday is if I finish editing this after the restaurant, after I'm back at the house and it's 7 p.m., I'm done editing at 8, I've now got 3 hours that it's going to take to export out of Adobe. And then 2 hours to upload it to my distributor. And so it's midnight by the time that's done. Even though I'm not working that full 5 hours, I still have to click the buttons and like attend to it.
That's true. Have you thought about like bringing on like an editor or anything like that? Or is it like you're going to have to give them so many notes, it's not going to be worth?
Yeah, and I don't make any money off the podcasting, so I don't want to spend any more on it. I unfortunately did the calculation of what I spend annually and then collectively on the podcast, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize it ballooned that much.
Right.
But I like to have nice stuff and produce nice content. So.
Yeah, no, this is a great setup. This is awesome, and we're in a great building, but you brought the stuff, so this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and basically, I've got duplicates of everything except for my camera. That's the next piece I need to duplicate. But I mean, the audio production board, the mics, I've got 4 of the arms, I've got 4 of the cables.
Wow. Yeah.
Like everything, plus the software that I use for the virtual interviews and editing and everything. Like, I did not realize how much I was spending on this.
Would you ever bring on a sponsor?
I don't know. I really enjoy like not having to worry about anyone's opinion other than what I find to be interesting.
Sure. I bet you could find somebody. Maybe the guy that owns the company, your hat, he might be interested. But there's probably somebody that would like sponsor and just be like, we love what you do.
Yeah.
Don't worry about changing anything.
And I think that would be the situation in which I do it. I ran ads when I was like a year into it, when I was like 17, so 5 years ago. And I did not like the way it felt. Like putting that in, like I gave him a 30-second slot at the beginning of the episode, and I was like, man, this just really killed the vibe of it. Like I like to come out and try and bring the heat, and like I'll interject like a 60-second clip of myself saying, hey, please share the show. I don't make any money off it. I feel like that's okay though, because I'm not making money off it.
There's probably something you could do, like, especially since like this is a video. It's like you're literally wearing that. You know what I mean? Like something simple, or like put something on the table or something that's like, it's not interrupting the flow. And then maybe you tag something on at the end or something. Something like that. So it's like low hanging fruit just to help you cover the cost, because it is a lot of money to like get good equipment and like do everything else that comes with it.
Yeah, I'm most focused on growth right now. Like it'd be cool to make money on it in the future, but right now it's like, how do I just deliver the highest quality product that I feel good about? I took something away from and I actually think is valuable for the audience.
For sure. What's been the best growth tactic? This isn't the me interview.
I was gonna say you just totally flipped the script on me, Landon. The best growth tactic,
or what's worked the best so far? Have you seen any like spikes, or is it pretty steady the whole time, or how are you growing? Yes.
I would say the best growth tactic I've had is people that like have tight social circles. So there's certain families where people will hear about them. Like, I guess kind of my niche has become interviewing people that people haven't heard of that are like highly successful.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you don't include the co-founder of Under Armour, co-founder of Netflix, like that type of folk. But like, there's people where it's like, if you're in business, you've heard of them, or you're in this niche, you've heard of them, and it's like, they've never done an interview. Like, how did you? And then you release it, and so everyone's like heard the name and they see it pop up, and so those actually have pretty good little peaks on them. It's like it's almost like the hidden gems.
Yeah,
it's kind of the ones that do well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is kind of off topic, but kind of on topic. Something that I almost started a podcast because, like a separate podcast from Wichita Life, because I had Arthur Gunn on, who was he's from Nepal. Okay. He got runner-up on American Idol.
Oh,
he's from Wichita, but like nobody knew who he was. Like, I literally, the first time I heard of him was his audition in front of whatever, I can't remember who, Katy Perry and Luke Bryan or whoever it was. That went viral. And I'm like, okay, I got to get on this guy before he's too big. And so like he was growing by like 10,000 followers on Instagram a day once that started going viral. So I got a short interview with him, like 20 minutes. American Idol's like, you don't get a minute over. It was virtual. It was during COVID.
Oh, seriously?
So like, you don't get a minute over. And so he was awesome. He was at his house, Skype, whatever. He lived in Wichita still at the time. And then I had him on like one other time. But anyways, those podcasts exploded. Mm-hmm. And I got a bunch of subscribers from Nepal, which is hilarious on YouTube. But it like, and then to kind of capitalize on that, I split those up into a bunch of clips and stuff. And so those went really well. And then, I took all of his American Idol clips, and like, this is not my channel's technically monetized, but I don't make any money.
Yeah.
But I took all of his clips from American Idol, made like one video, and I get probably 10 comments a day on that video.
Dude, let's go.
It's just crazy, which again, I don't make any money on it, but it's just funny to continually see them come out. But anyways, my whole point was that he has such a strong community in Nepal, and then people that like him from American Idol, like that alone was enough to like give me thousands of subscribers. And so the idea was like, how can you play into like these niches? Like you mentioned, like nobody had ever heard from him before. That's why it's such a big deal. Like people are still like, how did this guy not win American Idol? And like, who is this guy? But it's like these niches. So like that was this whatever random Nepalese music one. But like, what else is there? Like, I know like some Latin artists are like extremely popular. It's like, do you interview them? And then that blows up, or like, I don't know. So how do you tap into like these niches? Was the idea behind the podcast. I never went anywhere with it because I don't have time.
Yeah.
But I still think there's something to that. Like it could be completely different niches every time, but how can you tap into those?
Yeah. And that's what I like. I guess my niche wouldn't change too much. I'm pretty well on the business entrepreneurship.
Sure.
High performance kind of is the niche. But what I really like is like, the amount of people that are like, even just here in Wichita, and I know it's true in St. Louis as well, that people have never had their story told, and it's just absurd stories.
Yeah.
I had a gentleman named Harley Schmidt on, who is a regular at the restaurant. That's how I met him. He's got just the craziest life story, and he found out that John and I like cars, and so he invited us over to show us his car collection. Well, he built an airplane hangar attached to his house, and so naturally we're like,
that's cool.
We're like, how did you become successful? And that story was fascinating. So I was like, Harley, you've never told this before. Can I have you on the podcast? He didn't know, like the mic made him nervous. He was confused about how to angle everything. Like, he was so foreign to it. But that podcast has been one of the most well-received ones I've ever done. Yeah. He called me last week and said, Jacob, I have people that are walking up to me telling me that I changed their life.
That's incredible.
And it's like the coolest thing ever. He's just the sweetest old gentleman who had this crazy story. He wasn't educated, sold a company, and then like is super religious. And like that one really touched people. And so now it's got like my interest peaked of like, there's so many people like that just around the U.S. that have never had their story told. And you can take the thumbnail of it on YouTube or Spotify, and it can be you with the car collection behind you so that it grabs the attention. but then they get to tell their story, and that's where the real
Yeah.
impact is. And that's what's really got me interested lately.
100%. But the question is like, how do you find those people?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I've got a great mechanism. You know, the amount of people that walk into the restaurant that I've never met
That's a
before?
great point. Yeah. So you just start talking to them, hear a little bit of their story, and then
I've met so many people through the
that's a
restaurant.
great point.
And
That's amazing.
That is a unintended consequence of doing the restaurant. I never would have thought that it'd benefit the podcast. But now some of our regulars like have found out about it and become like regular listeners of the podcast.
Yeah.
Like I walked in after the co-founder of Under Armour episode, and I had a handful of folks that were like, "Hey, great interview with the co-founder of Under Armour." Like that was sweet.
That's super.
And I'm
cool.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's cool." It's kind of like everything's spreading around together, and the restaurant's growing, the podcast is growing. It's like this is cool.
Yeah. Do you hand out like cards for the podcast or anything?
No, I don't ever want to push anyone.
Yeah.
So I almost don't talk about it unless like it exactly fits into what we're talking about.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. That's cool. That's super cool.
So
interesting.
You mentioned prior to this that you've got a fitness goal.
Yes. So I have not been upholding this goal, but we're almost halfway through the year, so I still got time.
This is the second half, man.
So I have never been a consistent. I've never been a consistent runner.
Mhm.
Okay. So the last time I ran like an actual actual race where I signed up, I lived in Corpus Christi in 2016, and they called it the Beach to Bay marathon.
Mhm.
And so there was 6 of us, and we each like literally holding a baton, whatever, like you each run a leg. And so I ran like 5 or 6 miles, whatever it was. It was very hot and that sucked. That's the farthest I've ever ran.
Corpus Christi, that's brutal, man.
Yeah. And it was in May or June. It was bad.
Oh,
But I say that to say, back in the day when I was growing up, my grandma was from Kiowa, Kansas, which is like a square mile. There's not very many people there. 8-man football, etc. at the high school. And on Labor Day, we'd go there every year for Labor Day. And there was the Kiowa Labor Day 5K. And so I would run that like every year when I was little, just whatever. I'm little, like, you know, you're just so full of energy back then.
yeah.
And so in 8th grade, I got second overall in the whole thing.
Neat.
And there was like people would like travel, not a lot of people, like a couple hundred people would travel to run there. And so anyways, I would think about that every now and then. I'm like, oh man, like I could have been a good runner. Because after 8th grade, when I got to high school, we always had a freshman or JV football game on Monday. So it's like we would still go for Labor Day, but then we would leave 10 a.m. so I can make it back for football practice in high school. So I haven't ran that since 8th grade. But I got second. And so I was like, what was my time? Like, I was like, I wonder if I could still like run that fast. And so there's, I used to be able to Google it and it would like pop up, but the website has since been taken down. But there's the Wayback Machine, if you've ever used that.
I've heard about this. It shows you previous versions of websites.
Yeah. So you can go back to, they like archive it like every 6 months, the whole internet would get archived. Crazy. And so I was able to find it. And so my time was 1953. So it was like just under.
Are you kidding me, dude?
Right. That's what I was like, I can't believe I did that. And so I was like a minute behind the guy that actually won it. But I got second place overall. And so I was like, okay, it's like 6:25 mile, which is like, I don't know if I could run 1 mile that fast, let alone a 5K. But anyways, my goal is to run a 5K at that speed. Dude. So I got a long ways to go. But
do you have any metric of where you are now?
I set this goal right at the beginning of the year. And so I think the first time I ran a 5K, I was at like 24 minutes. So I got like 4 minutes to shave off. But
so you've got some good progress to shave off.
So I got some, and I'm probably a little bit quicker than that now, but like I need to run more than once every 2 or 3 weeks. But
you know what people love is a good little mini series of like specifically running goals right now. Like everyone's got a YouTube channel and an Instagram series of like, this is my marathon goal time and here's where I'm at, or this is my ultra goal or whatever. I mean, I kind of do that as well. That'd be kind of funny for you to be like, all right, I'm at 24 minute 5K. I want to get down to my 2nd grade time. Like, I think that'd be a cool little mini series.
That's a good idea. I do have a YouTube channel. I've got 2 subscribers. So my personal YouTube channel.
There you go.
So maybe I'll put it on there.
Do you put anything out on it?
No, I just have it because I posted like one video at my house, I don't know, in college. It was like knocking something down. And then we did like a freshman project when I was an engineer.
Yeah. No, you should do like a building Wichita life or behind the scenes Wichita.
That's a good idea. I should do something like that.
And it's just the personal side of things.
Yeah, I should do that. But that's a great idea to do for this because the amount of run clubs, do you do any of the run clubs? I know you have your run club.
Yes.
So talk about that.
That's the only one I do. It's just called 4 Mile Friday. Really, it's just a mentor of mine, Hunter Mitchum, who owns Sweat House, the contrast therapy studio. Him and I go out every Friday morning at 6 a.m. and run 4 miles. And I just love talking with him. He's such a sharp, smart guy. So I just love to pick up as much as I can from him.
Oh, that's cool. I need to come out to that sometime. Typically, I'll work out early at the gym, and then I work from home on Fridays. But I need to come. I still haven't been to Sweat House, so maybe I'll come to one of these. And
You should do contrast with me. I took Spencer.
Did you?
The Sweat House.
Yeah. What do you think?
He loved it because his back hurts from shoveling so much.
Yeah, he needs to take it easy on himself.
The ice bath was good.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So you and I should go sometime.
Let's do it. Maybe I'll come to one of the runs and we can do that after.
Yeah, I'd be down, man. But what I was going to get to is like the miniseries, like you putting it out there has a personal effect because it holds you accountable as well.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, because I'm like, I could go run right now, or I could just not go run. I'll just go to the gym instead. But I'm like, no, I just need to run, and I don't know. And I guess one thing I would have a question for you as a person that actually runs a lot. Should I go for speed first, or should I go for distance first? I've heard like I should just go run like 4 miles, like whatever, a few times a week, and then slowly go faster. But what would you recommend to somebody that?
I would agree with that because if you increase speed, you lengthen your gait. And so the longer the stride, the more instability on the knee. And so you're more likely to get hurt.
Okay.
And so I would start off slower, build up a base, get those muscles used to running again.
Makes sense.
And then incorporate more speed sessions.
Okay. All right. I'll do that.
Yeah.
This is my podcast to keep me accountable. So I'll clip that part and put it on that'll be the opener for my actually personal YouTube.
That would be cool to like take this clip and have that be the introduction, and then it's you.
Good work.
All right, here it is, Landon.
And nobody subscribes, so nobody will see it. So
actually, I'm going to make you sure. What's the handle right here?
It's probably just Landon. He's like, honestly, I don't even know what it is because I'll go find it. I'll give you the link.
I want to see you do a personal YouTube channel because I think what you're doing is fascinating, and people only see the polished end product. And I'm personally the type of guy who likes to see the behind the scenes. That's why I document everything I'm doing.
I do love what you're doing. That was something I wanted to ask you about. So something that I've always thought would be good is like to journal or do something like that. And like I've gone through sprints where it's like I'll journal for like a month and then I don't journal. Do you just have that so built into your routine, whether it's journaling or just your documentation of everything? How do you build that into your routine, I guess?
So I started journaling pretty religiously when I was 16.
Yeah.
So I would say that habit's pretty ingrained. There's two kind of anchors for me. The first one is I just feel better when I get it out. Like they say, if you hold things inside, that it can kind of build up and come out in unanticipated ways. And so me getting everything out just helps me like release. But then the second piece is, I don't know if I'm actually going to do this, but I really like the idea of, I would love to have a son one day. I'd love to give him all of my journals, or at least me go back when I'm a parent and say, hey, when I was 15, this is what I was struggling with, and read it. And like, I think it would make me a better parent, more empathetic. And so that's like the second anchor I use is like, hey, this could be bigger than yourself.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome. That's very cool. And is this just, do you write it, type it? How do you?
Yeah. So I actually, I keep 2 notebooks on me at all times. I got both of them with me right now. One is a personal journal and the second one is a business journal. So I've got like 8 copies of each from like the years. Wow, I keep all of them on my, I'm a big reader. So I've got like these bookshelves, all my books. I keep the journals on the bottom shelf there, all stacked next to each other.
That's cool.
And then obviously I document things from the podcast. And then I started the YouTube channel about a year ago, documenting everything behind the scenes. And then I document it on Instagram as well.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah. That's going to be really cool to pass that along.
Yeah.
In 10 years from now, whatever that is. That's awesome.
Unless everything just tanks and then it's like, oh, let's watch his demise slowly.
Yeah, maybe. But either way, there'll be lessons learned.
That's the risk you're on.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. So any other fitness goals you have, or just the 5K?
That's the main one. I go to the gym a few times a week, but a lot of times it's just, whenever I can. And again, it's trying to balance everything else, job, Wichita life, the kids, et cetera. So, I mean, we go on a lot of walks with the kids and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the main fitness goal. I'm like, if I can do this, I'll be in pretty good shape.
So you called Wichita life like your hobby, and I get that, like, it's because you find that genuinely interesting. You're approaching an area where you could do it full time. Like, is that still of interest, or like, do you like? I don't know. How do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely want to do it full time at some point. I think the opportunity with Stand Together was just like kind of too good to pass up. Between one, it was just kind of like the work we're doing itself is actually impacting Wichita for the better, and I think we have a strong. There's a strong foundation built. But then, like, where we could help bring Wichita is something that I can't do with Wichita Life. And it's a lot of the people I meet are like through the nonprofits and stuff. Like, not that I'm doing it to benefit Wichita Life in the long run, but it's going to benefit Wichita Life in the long run.
Just aligned.
Exactly. Yeah. So like for the podcast or the restaurant, like you can only connect, as Steve Jobs once said, you can only connect the dots looking backwards, not forward. It's like, I'm going to meet somebody here that it's not going to make any sense till 5 years from now. I'm like, okay, that's going to make all the difference.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of too good an opportunity to pass up. Cause like when they first brought me the idea, there wasn't a position available, but it was probably like February of last year. I started February of this year. I was like, I'm not really interested. Like if or when I quit Coke, I'm like, I just want to go do Wichita Life full time.
Right.
But this is, again, the flexibility is allowing me to kind of pursue more of the Wichita Life stuff that I need to, while also just hopefully making impact through staying together in Wichita. So
Nice.
but yes, definitely want to do it full time at some point.
I'm curious, like, as you look at like your personal growth, keeping yourself motivated, and just like the things that you kind of fuel yourself with mentally, are there any books or podcasts that you've really enjoyed that kind of stick out to you, and why do you like them?
The first podcast that I don't really miss an episode is My First Million.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite one. But then from that, like I'll kind of learn about somebody and read something. So there's actually an article I need to send to you. But he's been on a couple different podcasts, but his name is George Mack.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
I've heard of George Mack.
I think it's like
is he the beatboxing guy?
No, I know who you're talking about. Who is that? That's no, that guy's awesome though.
Yeah.
He's a rapper.
Why do I know George Mack? What's that name?
So I think that's his name. It's like a marketing guy, but I kept trying to think of his Twitter handle. It's like marketing professor or something like that. Anyways, he's this concept of high agency, like people who have high agency. And it's like one of the best reads I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And so he was on My First Million talking about it. And then he was on Chris Williamson, actually.
Modern Wisdom.
Yeah, he's on Modern Wisdom talking about
That's
it.
probably why I know his name.
Okay, that's probably his. But that was one of the other ones. And Modern Wisdom, I haven't listened to a ton of it, but I've started listening to a lot more of it. And I really appreciate that. Like it truly is like, it's just modern wisdom. It's like he has a guest on that might be great on another podcast, but he brings it on then and he's like extracting those actual like wisdom pieces. This is not just some random thing. It's like actual wisdom from these people.
Yeah. I describe Chris Williamson in Modern Wisdom as Joe Rogan, except for he has like an actual thesis of what he's trying to draw out in the conversation.
100%. Yeah,
which is that modern wisdom, motivational, personal growth.
Yeah. And then something's cool. It's like, as I watched more Modern Wisdom, I got fed more Chris Williamson stuff. But it's cool to see him do like some of like behind the scenes stuff. And so he had like a behind the scenes video of, it was like the week that he interviewed Naval.
I think you sent me that.
I think I did too. We went on, or Naval came on his podcast and then he went on Joe Rogan and then something else big that week. And he was just talking about like the mental load of like 3 of the biggest things of his life all in one week and stuff. And it was just cool to see somebody kind of break it down like that. And
he also talked about in that episode not being able to fully enjoy the moment. Is that something that you've ever battled with?
I think so. Like, I think it's just hard to slow down sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think that is something like, especially like with kids, it's like, okay, my oldest is already 5 years old. Like it feels like she was born yesterday.
Wild.
And it's like, we have 3 kids now. So it's like, you literally have to like take the time and like slow down and be like, okay, this is the moment I'm going to miss, right? It's like we're playing in the basement with a little train set or whatever. It's like, this is literally what I'm going to like cry over in 10 years. You know what I mean? When they're growing up. So I think it's just, I definitely struggle with that though. Whether that's Wichita Life or with the family, whatever. Like it's just trying to slow down in a world that's like, everybody says, it's like, how are you? It's like, oh, I'm so busy. It's like, but do I have to be? Like, you know what I mean? Like, can I slow? I can be busy, but not be busy. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
My schedule is pretty full, but I can slow down and enjoy each aspect of that.
Yeah. It's about finding little moments, like things that you can kind of hold on to. Cause you're right. When you're busy, things move so fast. Like I think about the last, honestly, 2 years since graduating, it's just flown by in the blink of an eye.
It goes really fast. I mean, I graduated 10 years ago from college. And so it's like, that's insane to think about. And something I heard actually on My First Million this morning, Sean is one of the hosts. See, you interviewed Sam, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then one of Sean's business partners came on, and the way he describes, and when his mom asks him what he does for a living, he says, I collect moments. And I thought that was super powerful. So it's like, how can you collect more moments in your day or your week or the year? And it's like, I think that's a really big thing.
Yeah, that is a difficult thing to do. Like just because your brain is everywhere, like you're trying to problem solve and you're trying to run from meeting to meeting. And that's one of the reasons, honestly, I love podcasting as an art form, because like we have to be here in this moment right now. We're not on our phones. We're not on the computers. We're making eye contact. It's literally just microphones and a camera, and in its purest, it's just a conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think even if like you're having a conversation with your friend and without microphones, you're probably going to be checking your phone every now and then. Buzzed. Okay, who was that? Like, what's going on? And it's interrupting kind of that flow, which again, that's just life. We have other responsibilities, but like, this is a great way to like uninterrupted for 60 minutes or whatever it is, kind of dive in and get to know somebody.
My theory is that some of the podcast guests I've had on have had longer, more intentional, uninterrupted conversations with me than they've had in a long time with like their significant others or loved ones.
100%. Yeah, for sure. Especially people that are like, I don't know, I have a business, but like people with actual businesses that are like empires, like, I don't know, the First Form guy or whoever, like Under Armour guys, like,
How crazy is that to think that like, and it's just because it's hard to take the time to intentionally put away devices and have a conversation. But how crazy is that to think that with a stranger, someone they've met a couple times, they're talking more intentionally and for a more longer period of undistracted time than with someone they love.
And I think that's just kind of like a, I don't know, sad implication of today's world. But you can change it if you want to. Like, it's tough.
But it's cool for me because
it's very cool for you.
I'm the person in the seat that's like getting all of the undivided attention. And it's like, this is great. Like, this is honestly how I want to connect with everyone, is like intentional, like meaningful conversation. That fills my cup up a lot.
Oh, for sure. And it'd be almost like the flip side of that, like that, and something that I've thought about and I probably should do before it's too late. But it's like people that aren't on technology. So we're talking like people that are like the busiest, they're probably on their phone a ton on phone calls or meetings and stuff. But it's like my grandparents, like, I think they share a cell phone that they use, but like they live with my parents now. But it's like recording a podcast with them is something that could be really cool. And I think that's something like the world needs more of, but it's like, I have stories they've told me, but like, I'm going to forget a lot of the details of that stuff. So like, how can I capture some of those moments and collect some of those moments with them that then I can look at or share with my kids or my grandkids, be like, check out what your great grandma had to say about her first job or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something I thought about for a while, but I just have never pulled the trigger on. But like, it'd be super easy. You could even just put your phone on the table and record it or whatever.
Yeah, that is something that I did.
Did you do that?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was really cool to get to do that, and we'll have it forever. And
that's amazing. Yeah, that's super cool. Very cool.
So I'm curious to get your thoughts on something. I have the opportunity to do a live podcast. In a couple months.
Yeah.
I haven't fully committed to it yet because I've never done something like that. But I feel like I'm seeing more of that type of thing. And what I like about it is like, I got to do Startup Grind last week.
Yeah.
So I was on the panel and I had a couple of listeners from the podcast actually come in person.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's cool. You know,
that's
it's only a couple of them, but it's like,
that's super cool.
There's some sort of audience for this. I'm curious like how heavily involved you are in like these in-person events, and then also from a media standpoint, like what do you think of live podcasts? Because I'm seeing a lot more of them happen in general.
I think they're awesome. Yeah. So I don't know if I've like been at speaking events or done speaking events and I've recorded it just to turn into a podcast later. Cause I'm like, if I'm already doing it, I might as well make a podcast of it. I think it's pretty authentic. So like, this is obviously authentic, but there's just like no cutting out of the other way.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it is what it is. And like, maybe you might get a little more nervous, but I doubt it. So like, you've done it so many times. But I think it's cool because if you did like a Q&A or something, that's a different dynamic than one-on-one.
I like it from the audience standpoint.
Yeah.
Like if I could go watch some of my favorite podcasters in person,
100%.
I would feel so much more involved and it'd cultivate more loyalty. And I just think that experience is pretty cool.
Oh, for sure. And I think, I'm trying to think of who was like, David Sinra.
Yeah.
He did one and it's like, that's super cool. Like they can pack stadiums for some of that stuff because people have listened to hundreds of episodes of some of the podcasts.
Yeah.
And so it's cool if they can have a chance to come see their favorite podcaster.
It's interesting to see how all that landscape is changing. Like it used to be, I only know the people that are in my immediate circle and in my town. And then with the internet and everything else, it's like, oh, I know these people globally, but I'm never going to meet them.
Right.
And now it's like the third wave, in my opinion, is these massive personalities are now coming city by city, almost doing a tour.
Right.
And it's like, let's get to reconnect like we used to in that first way.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's cool when you can do the meet and greets and stuff like that. Yeah, that's cool. What is there a specific opportunity or you're just oriented?
So the Startup Grind folks.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. They thought it would be cool. Like they'd give me a whole audio video, visual, like hookup, and then we could do it like at the Commerce Club or something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And my big thing was like, the title that the podcast is Real Conversation. So if I'm doing it like for an event, then I want to make sure that no one can interrupt what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely.
Like, because I try to follow a natural flow of conversation. Yep. So I don't want it to be like, you need to check off this box, you need to thank this sponsor.
Oh, for sure.
That. So I want to make sure there's creative liberty with it. And it sounds like there will be. So now it's like everything's kind of lined up. It's just like,
oh, that's amazing.
It's like, what guest do I want to pick? Should it be someone I've never done an episode with before, so it's the first time? Or should it be someone I'm comfortable with but has a cool story? And it's pretty nerve-wracking to think about. There's a lot of logistics with it.
Yeah. I would almost say probably somebody new.
Yeah.
Just 'cause I think your curiosity can take over even more. Have you ever done like a panel? Not a panel or like maybe a panel, but like more than one guest at a time?
Where I've had more?
Like you have 2 or 3 guests on?
Yeah.
For your podcast?
I've had on, there's been 4 of us at the max.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Because like, again, it's a real conversation. It doesn't have to be 2 people. It could be 4 people. I wonder if would you ever do that as a live one, or would you think it'd be better as just a one-on-one?
It's kind of hard because the 4-person conversation almost started to split off into 2 and 2. And it was like, hey guys, we're all recording at the same time here.
Sure.
And then when you're talking with someone and you've got the other two watching you, you almost feel like you need to loop them back into the conversation and then maybe change the angle of things a little bit. Yeah. Like you almost start to feel like an actual host, like a party host. It's like, I want to make sure all of my guests are having a good time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I did right when the Commerce Club first opened, I did some kind of panel, social media or something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it was. It was like, so the host asked a question. It was like, answer, instead of just like, the flow, like we're going to interrupt each other a little bit, but it's like, we're both going to talk back and forth. And
this is more dynamic and that's more static.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely.
You talk about the event they did, the Commerce Club. I want to talk about real quick, just to kind of stamp this and document it. How was the 8-year anniversary party?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was cool. We did it at the Learning Lab this year, Learning Lab Wichita, which is funny because I was talking to them, I don't know, last year, and we were thinking about doing it there. And then Stand Together actually helps fund them. So it's like, it was a funny fit. Like, they're my coworkers.
Yeah, that aligned pretty well.
But yeah, that space is awesome. It was fun. I think we had like 140-ish people there.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah, it was fun. But
how cool is it to have that level of people support you and to like actually be willing to pay for tickets to come out to this party? And like you did a pretty top-notch event. I couldn't make it this year. I made it last year, but like it looked like it was a very like well-run event. Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate that. My wife was a wedding coordinator, so if it's well-run, it's because of her, not because of me. We're trying to decide if we want to do it. So we've done 4 of them now. We did it at Doma, rest in peace, IMA Rooftop, Commerce Club, and now Learning Lab. And so we try to do like a newer-ish place in town, but like kind of a cool vibe, whatever that is. But it is pretty stressful because people don't buy tickets in Wichita till like the week of. Yeah. And so like doing big events is like kind of stressful. So we're like, do we want to do one next year? Or do we just want to go big for 10 years the year after that? So we may or may not do it next year. But it was really fun this year. And I'd like to do like more like smaller, intimate events. I think there's something to that, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Those are actually 2 things that I'm very interested in that are just kind of sparked in me. Like the first one is like the private little events, like the tight knit, like those types of conversations where you're not worried about like who's there because it is such a closed off, like that. Those are some of the most fun and genuine conversations with people. So it'd be cool for you, like someone who knows so many people and has such influence, to be able to bring together a tight knit group of people that just are looking to mutually benefit each other and to help and support. The other thing that we're seeing a lot all over the U.S., more in St. Louis than in Wichita, that I'm curious about your thoughts on like doing this in Wichita. I've had a lot of podcast guests that are like big time public speakers, I guess you would call it. I don't exactly know what this industry is called, but basically they'll pack out massive stadiums. We're talking like 20,000 people, like Andy Frisella from First Form. They'll pay him like 50 to 100 grand and he'll go talk to 10, 20,000 people and give a speech about like his story and like motivation and just kind of personal growth, personal development. And like David Goggins does that. And there's a lot of folks that are doing this type of thing. I'm curious about your thoughts on like, we have so many gyms in Wichita. Like, what would it look like to get together some of the best minds in town? Maybe it's not that same scale as other places, but pick a venue and pick 5 to 10 of like the most inspiring, successful, just people in town, almost like a podcast. Like let them go up on stage and tell their story and pack that with young individuals, people looking to grow and better themselves.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a market for that. We did kind of a version of that. And it's kind of a random one. So what was it? It was probably like fall of 2023, maybe 2022. But we partnered with Audra Donnell, who you should have her on the podcast.
Okay.
But she runs The Thread, which is a Women's Leadership Collective, which I didn't know what that meant for the longest time. But basically, like, she has cohorts of, I don't know, 10 to 25 women. I don't know how many there are in each cohort. But basically, they do like leadership development through like a semester, like bunch of speakers, et cetera. And but like the network she's built is incredible. So anyways, this was like kind of early-ish days of she was building that out. And so I heard an idea on My First Million that Sam used to do. Sam Parr, who started the Hustle and everything. He used to do these events that was essentially like kind of a TED Talk, but for women. And so like, okay, most of my audience, 2/3 of my audience is women technically, but Audra is like the power player women in town and in the region. So anyways, we partnered with her and we sold out Oddfellow like so fast. It was like 200 people packed in there super fast. And the idea was like, we'll have 6 kind of kick-ass women speakers. They have 8 minutes, I think we did. And so it was like 2 of them speak and then you have like 15 minutes to talk and network and meet some people. And then we had 2 more and so forth. So it was like part TED Talk, part networking, part party because we had food and drinks and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
But it was really cool. But I think there's something for that to like do a bigger venue. Don't just do women, do everybody, and have a good mix of different stories. You might have a Jonathan Wygand next to like somebody else, like Marquise Bradley or somebody like that. But it's like some huge players in town that just have completely different backgrounds. I think that would be super cool.
Yeah, that's just where my mind is going. Is like, I love telling these stories and I'm going to continue to do the podcast, but like, what if there's a way that I could take my guests and repurpose them in a different event style?
That's a great idea. Let's partner on that. Let's do it.
I think it'd be pretty cool, actually.
Speaking of, like where we could do that, I think like Wave, like inside of Wave.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. Like a venue is like, it's not Interest Bank Arena.
Right.
But it's still a few thousand spots once you get seats or standing room only or whatever, however you want to set it up. Yeah.
And what I like about like, I guess this podcast and other ones that I enjoy, you and I both enjoy listening to is like, it's not just the high level, here's the corporate talk I'm going to give.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want the real conversation.
Oh, yeah.
The nitty gritty, like that this sucked and was brutal and I almost quit. But because I made it, here's X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Here's the principles I can take away from that. Here's the advice I would offer.
Oh, yeah.
What I do different. Like I want the real raw talk. Like
absolutely.
That's what I would love to kind of have an event around.
Yeah, for sure. And I think again, this was like, I don't know, in a podcast you can go for an hour or whatever that is.
Mm.
It was cool though to get like 8-minute bite again, like a TED Talk. Like a TED Talk is like lessons of a lifetime condensed into 10 minutes. So it's like, how could you do that in a different format? I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah. And then you could record it, make content out of
sure.
it. Like
clip it up. Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff you could do with it.
100%. Do you, something I was going to ask about, have you heard of Zach Pogrob?
Yes.
On Twitter?
Yes.
The Obsession guy?
Obsession.
Yeah.
Follow Obsession.
Yeah. So there was I was actually thinking on the way over here, I'm like, I don't know what we're going to talk about today. But he has a concept and I was reading his stuff more frequently earlier this year. But he like lives in New York. All he does is like run.
Yep.
And like he's building this obsession brand.
Yep.
But he has a concept called artist, athlete, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yes.
What do you think of that? Or if you
so those are the pillars of the audience that he writes for, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of saying that like there's a common thread between all three of them and obsession lies within those domains.
Yeah. I think it's super cool. Just like he lives his life by that. So like athlete is pretty easy because he runs all the time. That's just like his thing. Entrepreneur is like he's building a business, but like between everything, he's like infusing art and like he uses like obsession core, which is like on the surface could be kind of cringy, but like it's cool the way he does it. And,
I remember like this idea of obsession was something that was negative inherently for the longest time. And then the more I've at least seen his content, the more it's like people want to say, I'm obsessed. Their shirts that say obsession.
Yeah.
He uses the black flag emoji to indicate obsession. Now other people are using that. And it's cool.
And it was like his phrase for a while was like 1 year of obsession can change your life.
Yes.
And like that's super cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I think a rising tide lifts all boats. Like the Jordan Peterson concept of aiming up. Like I love when people like, do I 100% agree with you should be obsessed 100% of the time? No.
Right.
But do I agree with the sentiment that everyone should be pushing themselves, developing more and like going all in on that?
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, I love when people have something and they're pushing out like a positive message.
100%. And I think that kind of ties back too to like just some of the run clubs in town. So yours is super cool. And then there's like, what is the other one? Like Fortune 88 one.
I've seen that.
It's like they're making it cool to be fit, which I think is awesome and we need more of.
Yeah. And they're doing very high quality content.
Yeah.
Like their stuff looks good.
It's like a party.
Yeah.
Like they're making it's not just like a run. They're like doing cold plunges and drinking juices and stuff after. I'm like, this is pretty cool.
And that's what I like is like, how do we continue to do positive things? Like, so let's say you need to have a meeting, right? Like this is something that I've actively been implementing is like, if you're having a meeting, it's usually coffee or drinks. And so now it's like, how do I get to the third place? The third place for me is like run, a lift, ice bath, sauna.
Yeah.
So I've actually been trying to have meetings in that type of environment.
Cool, yeah.
And so it's like a little bit of a shift in culture.
Oh, I love that.
And I think this generation is kind of perpetuating that. It's like making it cool to be healthy.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think Wichita especially needs that, as we were like one of the most obese cities, or like 16th the most obese in the US or something. Yeah, it's not good.
Oh,
I think we're worse than New Orleans, which think about New Orleans, I'm like, how are we worse than that? But
yeah,
just with all the food options down there and stuff. But yeah.
I was walking around an airport a couple weekends ago with my girlfriend and I asked her, do you think this airport is representative of the US population? We both agreed that it was, and it was kind of a sombering feeling. It's like it needs to be cool to try to have discipline to put effort and to care. Like, but if you go certain places too, it's like, okay, why is this place so much more fit
than other places or something. Like I was down in Dallas for work last week, and there was this bar. There's like half outside, half inside, but it was right on this trail. And there were so many people riding bikes and running along this trail. I'm like, this doesn't happen in Wichita.
Right.
Like there's people on trails, but not to this scale. It was cool to see that many people out and about.
And I think that it really is that momentum thing. Like you get your group, you get your like in your routine, and it's just how do we create something where people are willing to like step into it more? Like that's the benefit of Run Club is you're sharing that experience with other people. So it's just a little bit easier to go and do it. And that's something that like in Austin, Texas, they've got this gym called Lift ATX. It's this really cool like dungeon vibe gym, but you open up the garage doors and it's an indoor-outdoor gym. So it's almost like the new social spot. People go hang out there.
That's
and it's
super
like
cool.
Everyone wants to work out together and it's the spot to be instead of the bar. And
that's amazing.
That's the type of thing that I think it'd be cool to bring more of that to Wichita.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, like Sweat House is a good example too. And like the run clubs, like I remember I'm on Twitter a lot. So it was like the Twitter sphere was like talking about run clubs in Austin and New York like a year ago.
Yeah.
And then they slowly crept into Wichita. Like there was some, but it's like, it just seems like there was an explosion of like half a dozen of them or something.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see them finally get to Wichita, but it's like we're always like 6 or 12 months behind. So it's like, let's just look towards the coast or sound to the cool cities like Austin and see, okay, what's coming next?
Yeah. And you're the right person to talk to about that because I've seen in some of your like deep dives and some of the newsletters you push out, it's like everything is happening from the outside in. It's like, how do we just get ahead and grab the good things that we see and bring them into town?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Make it move a little quicker.
Yeah. Well, Landon, I know you're a busy guy, so I want to start to wrap up here. Where can people find you online if they want to reach out, connect, learn more?
Yeah, just look up Wichita Life, wherever, any social media, Wichita Life on Google, and you can find our newsletter. So
you're verified now, I think.
We're verified.
Look,
you just pay for it, but hey.
Did you pay for it?
Honestly, I had to because whenever we do a giveaway or anything, there's always like a bunch of scammers. And so I was like, I had to like try to help people out a little bit with that. So,
well, if anyone deserves to be verified, it's you.
I appreciate it. I did apply before they had like, you could pay for it and they denied me. So
that hurts.
We're here or there though. We got it.
Hey, it doesn't matter, man. Either way. You can find me at Jacob O'Connor. The podcast is at Real Period Conversations. If you enjoyed the episode, please make sure to share it with a friend. Landon, my final question for you. This will be no surprise since I know you've listened to a few episodes. Looking back at this really cool journey you've been on, what advice would you offer to your 23-year-old self?
Just get started. You don't need a huge idea. I think this is the same advice I gave last time, but you don't need a huge idea to get started. Just kind of plant the seed and keep watering it every day and it'll get bigger.
I love it. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks, Jacob.